Hello, I'm Jane Simpson. I began the Let's Talk MND podcast after my husband Robert was diagnosed with MND and he died 10 months later. This podcast has built an MND family. We share real stories from people living with MND, those who love them, and we learn about research and care in plain English. I'm not an expert, just someone with lived experience, and together we are stronger. This podcast is proudly supported by Evercare, an assisted living brand that shares our belief in independence, dignity, and community. You can learn more about their range at evercare.com.au, or you can find them in Bunnings Warehouse stores nationally. I'm so thankful for Evercare's support of the MND community, and I really hope that you enjoyed today's conversation. Hi, everybody. I better move my mic closer. It's a bit foggy in the last few interviews. Today we've got someone that I've not met before. His name's Aaron Hintala. Aaron is a 44-year-old man. Is that right, or did you change to 45?
45, Christmas Eve, last Christmas Eve. So.
Oh, bad date for a birthday. A 45-year-old man who lives in Queensland. And Aaron was diagnosed with MND in December 2024. You have two little kids and a wife?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Two young boys and a wife. Yeah.
Two little boys. Okay.
Yeah.
We like to start off this podcast asking, who are you? Not what do you do. So who is Aaron?
I guess in terms of that description, who am I? I'm a husband and a father to a beautiful family. My wife and I have been together for nearly 20 years. Our boys are 11 and 13. So I've been, like I've been described as, and it's something you don't sort of go into life doing. You start a family and all that, and you have a lot of love for your family. And then soon after becoming a father, a few people sort of commented and said, sort of describing me to other people, and I started catching this this phrase a couple of times of a family man. I'm like, you don't go out to become a family man and go, I'm going to be a family man or whatever. But then I just started noticing a few people say, Aaron's really dedicated to his family, or he's a family man type of guy. That's the person that who he is. And I guess if you hear that from other people, it's probably a pretty accurate description of who you are. So, yeah.
I think what other people say about you is often more accurate than what we think about ourselves.
I think so. We'd all like to. We probably have a bit of a skewed idea of who we are, and it's probably more around the lines of what we want to be.
Oh, yeah, I agree with you. So tell me what you do. So your work life, your hobbies, what do you do on the weekends, all of that kind of stuff.
Work-wise, I studied an environmental degree, so that sort of involved a lot of environmental science and environmental economics. In terms of my working career, I've worked in government, I've worked in construction, I've worked in mining, civil construction, consulting, and lately I've been working for the last 10 or so years with a construction services business with a fleet of trucks and vacuum trucks. And I've been working in like the health, safety, environment, quality space with that business, and sort of, it's been quite rewarding, a little bit different to the rest of my career, but comes with different challenges, even just sort of working with a business that's of a different size. I've worked with large organizations, and then this one was kind of a smaller type of organization, and it's sort of expanded over the last sort of 10, 11 years quite considerably. So it's been an interesting growth curve. In terms of my personal life, I mentioned about my family. I guess I'm a family man.
You are a family man, Aaron?
Yeah. Look, from a young age, I've been heavily involved in sport and been super active. Played many, many sports, and especially sort of leading up to the point when I was a young boy, I got myself a bodyboard at the age of about 8 for my birthday, and I just experienced such a passion for the ocean, and it didn't take too long after that before progressing into a surfboard. So, needless to say, the last 30 plus years I've been spending in the water surfing, and I guess from a young age I lived in South Australia, so surfing was hanging out with friends, traveling to remote places, very remote. You can get away from people quite easily in South Australia.
Yeah.
And the fondest memories growing up there as a teenager and young years of traveling around with great friends and exploring and on adventures and finding amazing waves and camping out in the process. It was amazing, and I didn't really appreciate that till I moved away from there. Still love it very much. So I guess my passion for surfing kind of ended me up on the Gold Coast
Oh,
um, about 20 years ago.
right.
And yeah, I guess my life here has been heavily involved in lots of different sports and primarily surfing. I mean, an average day for me, um, to be honest, prior to my diagnosis would be, or an average week would probably be surfing, getting up at 4:30 in the morning, going for a surf for 2 hours, working, and then going and training jujitsu after work for a couple of days a week, or then hitting some exercises in the afternoon. So I was very active, super fit and healthy. Um, I guess that's the common thread with people that are diagnosed with MND so often, unfortunately, is they go, I'm fit and healthy, I've done all the right stuff. But
I hear over and over again, I was never fitter
yeah,
when I was diagnosed. Yeah.
I was that. I was probably the
Mm.
fittest I've ever been in my early 40s. And yeah, eating healthy, doing well, enjoying life. And yeah, then all of a sudden you get hit with this life changing transformation of this diagnosis.
We'll get to that in a sec. Are you a member? Are you a Lifesaving member of Lifesaving Club?
I've done that in the past, but no, more. Probably less organised in terms of my passion for the ocean. Yeah, a bit more spontaneous, I guess.
So tell me about your journey to diagnosis of MND.
Yeah, so I went for a run one day, and I hadn't run for probably a month or two. Gone for a jog, and I went for a jog and just noticed my left ankle, just wasn't. It was just slapping the pavement just a tiny little bit, and I come home and told my wife and said, "Yeah, it's just a bit funny." And I thought, oh, it's probably just something a bit unusual. Probably need to stretch it out or something. So I started stretching my ankle a little bit more and whatever else. Um, within within a little while, maybe a couple of months after that, I noticed just the reflexes in my toes on my left foot were just a little bit slower than my right, and I'm like, that's really unusual.
Yeah.
Look, through because I've been so active in my life, there's been times where I have a little bit of a back injury. And I kind of never really delved into it that much. Went to a doctor a couple of times and thought, okay, what is it? And I kind of knew in my head I've got a disc injury or something like that.
Okay.
So um, I went to a GP and I mentioned that, and then I went to a surgeon, did an MRI of my back, and he came back and said, "You've got two bulging discs in your back." And I guess that, and they're not major. He said they're not worth operating on, but you've got two bulging discs, and that kind of made sense to me.
Yeah.
I knew it. And in surfing, you've got a lot of rotation. A lot of times, sort of when you're doing turns, you're rotating your body pretty heavily. And
Yeah.
at times, I'll tweak my back and go, okay, I've done something there or whatever. I'd be out of action for a week or two and then get back into it again and it'd be fine. I'd manage it pretty well.
Bounce back. Yeah.
Bounce back and get on with life. And that might happen, once every 6 months or once every year. And I was kind of, whatever, I'll manage it. I'm above 40 or whatever now. So it's what comes with the
It's
part of the game.
expected.
Yeah, it's expected. So, um, then from there, I did an assessment and then I just started getting, like a fasciculation in my left thigh.
Uh,
Um, and the doctor said, I'm going to send you to a neurologist. And that path from there just went down the process of, obviously, as anyone who's known someone or been through that process, you know that it's all, you're doing MRIs, lumbar punctures potentially, which I did, PET scans. By the time I had my PET scan, I was thinking, I'd done my own research online. My neurologist didn't really tell me too much about what was going on. And I kind of did my own research and realized the seriousness of the situation that I'm in. And to be honest, I went into a PET scan hoping that I had cancer, to be honest.
yeah.
Uh,
That's not uncommon either.
yeah, I clearly remember going in thinking that. And then, yeah, obviously everything was all clear. Um, Progressed down the path. Eventually, did IVIG. And okay, I guess once you do your IVIG, you're thinking. I guess it mostly at that point you're probably looking at two options, um, MND ALS or MMN, and that didn't really do anything. Well, it didn't do anything. So I guess I was left at that point and a little bit more time, and then faced the diagnosis on the 27th. Oh, sorry, the 22nd of November, 2024.
Oh, November, not December.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry.
that's okay.
It's not okay, actually. How is the MND affecting you physically now?
Look, my upper body is, I guess I'm impacted across my whole body. I notice the change, I notice the difference, particularly around just weakness of muscle, loss of muscle, atrophy. Um, Different areas are affected differently. So primarily so initially it was my left ankle, and that sort of progressed to my leg and my left hip. My right leg is still affected, probably not so much in dorsiflexion with my ankle. It's still pretty good, but just overall within my left leg, my upper body is still pretty good. I can still do everything myself and all that. I'm still walking unassisted, apart from
Okay.
an orthotic or an ankle brace or something like that on my left leg. But I can still get around. I'm still mobile, and doing what I need to do. So,
Well, upper body looks like you're a solid unit.
not really.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe it's the camera angle.
This is the camera angle. Um, I don't know if you want to talk about this, but we'll go into it.
Yeah,
Your children.
yeah, yeah. Well, look, the two boys, 11 and 13. I guess the only way I could really describe it is, you. For me, my experience as a parent, as a father, um, you spend, you know, over a decade. Um, all you're doing is caring for your children and raising them, and raising them in the right way from the start. You're wiping their nappies, caring for them. You raise them up in the best way that you can. And I guess I've always been a, always been a person that I don't want to, if I have a burden, I don't put it on anyone else. I'm that type of person. And I don't expect people to put burdens on me either. Although I'm willing to help out people in need, that's fine. But, to be put in a situation where I'm a person that I don't put my burdens on people. If I got trouble, I probably won't even mention it. I'll just deal with it and persevere through it. And then to be put in a situation where, as a loving father that doesn't put burdens on any other people, to be there faced with a situation where I need to tell my children this horrific news. And
Mm,
essentially, that was the hardest discussion of my life,
yeah.
as you can imagine.
Yeah. I
Um,
don't have to imagine it.
yeah, it's like you spend over a decade raising and loving these children, um, to get put in a situation where you've got to tell them the reality. And I didn't want to sugarcoat it. I had to tell them the reality because I didn't want to lie. I want to tell them the truth of what's going on. Um, and it was, I guess, the only way I can describe it is, um, yeah, just tearing a piece of their hearts out, I guess.
How are
And
they now?
they're pretty good. Um, Look, at the end of the day, kids are pretty resilient.
They are.
And I think that's just a natural coping mechanism for children. They're beautiful kids, they're wonderful kids. Um, Look, the reality is their dad is still with them, and their
Yep.
dad's still doing stuff with them.
Yep.
And I think that's the main thing. I'm there. I'm there with them. I might not be able to do certain things with them anymore, but I'm still there. And I think that's a key thing. I'm there every morning. I'm there every night, hanging out with them. Whatever I can do with them, I'll do.
Mm.
And that's all I can really do. You can only do what you can do, and be content and satisfied and happy with that. And I'm
Mm.
extremely grateful. Like, not that I'm counting, but in 12 days it'd be 16 months since my diagnosis. But a lot of other people aren't as fortunate as me, so I can literally get up every morning and I can have a gratitude and a thankfulness to God that I can still walk, I can use my arms, I can talk to my children. There's not too many people, um, that can say they get up in the morning and they have that prayer, that they're thankful that they can use their arms and legs, because people just take it for granted.
They really do. Um, Before all of this happened to our family, I don't know why, I used to think to myself, just imagine if I couldn't walk to the toilet when I was busting for a wee. Because
Yeah,
I used to think that. And then it became the reality in life. And then I realized, oh my God,
yeah,
it is something, it's the little things in life we have to be really grateful for.
yeah. And
And
like it's been a beautiful journey. Like, to be honest, it's been such a warming, beautiful experience. As much as I can say that and saying that sounds weird,
no,
I probably got off track a little bit in my life in terms of what I was really achieving, and was I really grounded and being present in every day. And this experience has taught me that. The very fact that you can wake up in the morning and pray to God and be thankful that I can still talk and walk and use my arms and eat my own food, like, with and make my own breakfast and eat it myself. Like, it's it brings you to such a humbling place of gratitude in your life that you probably wouldn't experience otherwise, to be honest.
and your wife?
She's wonderful. Yeah, she's beautiful. Um, yeah, yeah, I'm so thankful for her. So thankful for her and my children. Um, she finds it difficult at times. We've had many deep conversations, as you can imagine.
Good.
um, just in terms of the process of coming to terms with it. Um, it's a bit of a process for her. Um, Sometimes she asks me, and we've had discussions around, like, uh, "Are you angry? Are you angry with anyone or anything?" And I can honestly say, I'm not angry with anyone or anything. I'm not angry with God, and I could many. I guess the most simplistic thing that's occurred in my life through this process is, I think people could, through this process, the most simplest thing you could do is go, am I angry with an entity, or am I angry with anything or anyone or God? Am I angry with God around this process? And what is that going to do? Probably turn you away from a higher being. Or you could turn towards and go, I'm out of control here. Can I turn, can I make the decision to turn towards God? And I've chosen that path. And it's been so rewarding and uplifting and fulfilling. And it gives me such a sense of peace that is beyond all understanding.
Did you have such a strong faith prior to your diagnosis?
Yes, I had a
Okay,
faith in God for a long time. And
good.
that's given me so much hope. And I guess hope is a key word in this process. And I actually really enjoy um, talking to other people diagnosed with MND. And it doesn't, in the prior discussion, you mentioned it can be a very lonely place, being diagnosed with MND, simply because um, you don't come across people diagnosed with MND very often. You have to go and search them to find them and discuss things with them. And I sort of do that. I reach out, and other people that I meet, I try and keep in contact. And um, there is a lot of hopelessness in this space, unfortunately. There's a heaviness, there's a lot of depression. And I love catching up with people. And in the, there's something so powerful about being in the same position as someone else, having the same diagnosis that no one else could ever realize.
Yeah.
And I love catching up with people and speaking hope into their lives. And it's, and what I said to a number of people is, there's a hope in so many things. There's ultimately, you could say to yourself, okay, 40,000 people around the globe die after a diagnosis of MND every year. And you go, that sounds pretty hopeless, because they all pass away, right? Um, but I can sit there and go, there's a hope in many things. There's a hope in, I could somehow reverse through what I'm doing. There's a hope in, I could plateau and it could stop progressing. There's a hope in some effective treatment being developed sometime in the near future, and there's a hope that I could sort of last to that point and realize there's an effective treatment for me. And there's ultimately also a hope in a cure ultimately getting developed. So I'll never say that there's no hope. And I remember soon after being diagnosed, to be honest, one of the first thoughts that came into my head after being diagnosed, I think it was around that day or the next day, contemplating what just occurred in my life. And, something that you would never expect. And you go, this is a bad dream, surely not. And I remember thinking to myself, whether this will happen or not, I remember thinking to myself, if I'm ever in my deathbed and I've been given 1 week to live, I'll still have hope.
Okay.
I'm strongly feeling that, and I'll never give up.
Good.
Yeah.
So many questions. Okay. Are you on any trials at the moment? What treatments are you undertaking?
I'm on nothing.
Are you taking Riluzole?
No.
Okay, fine.
I've done a lot of research. When you talk about revolves, I mean, I don't know a huge amount about revolves, but I know 3 to 4 months you're given an extended period of life expectancy, and I understand that to be from a essentially a biomarker. I can't remember the exact details of that biomarker, but it changes that biomarker for about 3 to 4 months, and that's where you get your sun's shining,
Looked like you had a halo behind you. It's all right.
It'll give you another 3 or 4 months based on the effect of the drug on that biomarker. And then I go,
Correct.
well, and I start wondering, why would someone continue taking it after 3 or 4 months? Like, I don't know. Look, I did a trial of obviously Adaravone. Wonderful that it's like we live in this country of Australia and they provide access to these drugs. And I was super keen on Adaravone when I was looking into it last year. I was looking at the oral suspension and the IV, and I'm wondering what's going to be the best option. I was looking into traveling to Japan to go and get some, bring it back to Australia. Around the same time, it was made available through this wonderful government that we have in Australia, and I had the opportunity to go on Adaravone. I trialed it for I think it was must have been about 8 weeks. My body felt worse, and I've always been super in tune with my body, and never more so than now. Like everything that I do in terms of holistic alternative type treatments, I'm really in tune with my body. Like I said, I always have been, as I consider myself, super active, and I was kind of like an athlete, I guess, in everything that I did. I've always been super in tune with my body. And I looked at it the same way, and I think about, what effect is something having on my body, and I didn't feel good, to be honest. The Adaravone, and I know there was mixed reviews around. There was obviously you look at the trial and research data out of Japan, and then you look at the research trial out of Europe, and you kind of go, they're conflicting trial data, or and you kind of go, well, I don't know, and then you start looking at population groups, and the difference between populations as well. And I wasn't convinced to continue on that treatment of Adaravone, so I decided to stop.
What protocol how did you take that?
IV.
Oh, so that in itself is a massive
That was huge
undertaking. Did you go to hospital for that, or did they come to the home?
No, I went to hospital. Yeah, so it was super intense. That was probably half the reason, because I had a cannula in my arm. They changed the cannula every 3 days, and you'd have a cannula in your arm for 3 days. And at that point, I was like, getting towards summer, and I want to be in the water and swimming. And oh no, you can't go in the water. Difficulty showering and all that. And I'm like, that was probably 50% of the reason. I'm like, this is more of a I remember saying to one of the doctors, I think this is more of a treatment for someone who's in a sedentary type of position that isn't as active as I am.
Well, is it really? Because those people have got to get themselves to the hospital anyway. So,
Exactly.
that in itself is a massive challenge. And I think the data at the moment is still in Australia, it's 3 months.
Yeah.
So it's just not dissimilar.
Yeah.
But this is not a medical show. This is not medical advice. This is purely two people talking.
Yeah, and I strongly advocate for anyone who does any treatment and thinks it's doing them good, continue doing it. No way in the world I'm, speaking against, the medical profession out there and drugs that are available, because if it works for you, keep doing it. Because everyone, and as we know, there's so many different types of, although it hasn't formally been categorized, you can only come to an assumption that there's so many different categories of, that leads a person to an MND diagnosis. Like there's certainly a lot around, Whether it's, could be heavy metals or some sort of exposure, environmental, whether it's a head knock or repeated head knocks over, sports or whatever it is.
Yeah.
There's got to be a number of different factors or categories that eventually come out of this, and who's to say what treatment may or may not be effective for someone's situation. That can only be an individual decision.
And also whether you have a genetic predisposition as well. Not that you have it genetically, but that you have a genetic predisposition along with all of that.
Correct. Well, when you look at tofusin, absolutely. If you've got a SOD1 gene mutation, you got to do everything you can do to get onto that, is my opinion.
Oh, God, yeah. You'd be grabbing that shit.
Amazing.
It is amazing.
Yeah.
Now, you were talking about connecting with community. You attended Pactel's and Care Conference in Melbourne last year in September.
Yeah.
I couldn't be there because I think I was in Cambodia or Vietnam or something, so I didn't get to meet you. How was that?
It was awesome. I think probably one of the biggest take homes was the fact that there was people there from all around the globe, dedicating their lives to, potentially and ultimately with the goal of finding a cure. And to be in a room with hundreds and hundreds of people there, and they're all interested and they're all super keen to find an effective treatment or a cure. It's heartwarming because, like you said earlier on, it can be a lonely place, and it is a lonely place when you think there's only 2,000 people in Australia diagnosed with MND, and you go, that is a pretty lonely place. And because you're not catching up with people regularly, or it's quite hard to catch up with people regularly that are in that space as well. It isn't a lonely place, and it doesn't have to be, but it can be quite easily.
Correct. And did you meet new friends there that you're still in contact with?
I met a bunch of people there. Look, I even met people that I already knew in the industry, doctors and
Good.
research professionals and all that I bumped into there as well. Certainly met a few people. Certainly a few people that I met that have been diagnosed and everyone's got a different story, as you know, a completely different story, which was interesting. Look, I hope to continue to go to some of these conferences and bump into these types of people again. And I hope to see them again, and hopefully they're doing well.
You'll bump into me.
What's
We're
that?
going to Adelaide. We're going to Adelaide this year, aren't we?
Is that December or November or something like that?
No, it's earlier. I think
Is it earlier,
it's September, I think.
Yes, I've got that on my radar.
Don't quote me. Who are your people? Who, besides your immediate family, is standing with you?
Look, I feel so privileged, and getting a terminal diagnosis is such big news to share with people. It's huge. You probably can't get bigger news than that, to be honest. To share that with loved ones and friends, even acquaintances, and I feel so incredibly privileged for the amount of times that I've heard people say to me, if there's anything I can do, anything at all, just call up and let me know I'll be there. And that comes from friends, family, obviously, but even acquaintances, even people that hear of my situation, and I've only ever spoken to them on the phone through, work or whatever, and they'll ring me up and have an hour-long phone call and tell me that they're behind me and say that very thing, that if there's anything I can do, just sing out, it's so heartwarming, and it's such a beautiful thing to see the openness of humanity, and I guess the caring side of people. It is so warming, and I guess even experiencing that myself from other people has I guess it's turned me into more of a caring person as well. I have so much compassion. I have more compassion than I ever did for people going through difficult times, and everything in my being wants to help people that are in a difficult situation, because I can speak to them and I know how it feels. And I guess that's changed my life a lot in terms of, I guess prior to being ill, if I was to come across someone that had like a terminal diagnosis or something like that, I'd kind of be freaked out and fearful in terms of I don't know how to handle this. I don't know what
Yeah.
to say or deal with it. And it was like that. It wasn't that I didn't have compassion or anything like that. It was I didn't know how to deal with it. I didn't know what to say. And I see that, and I guess I could go back on life and I've come across people like that in my path, and I could have been more compassionate or caring in some way or done more. But I guess for whatever reason, I'm going through this situation. It's changed me as a person, and I have a huge amount of compassion and care for people going through something similar.
We were talking before we started to record, and that you said to me, and that uh, we still say to people, I don't know what to say to you.
Yeah,
And I think that perhaps we don't know what to say to people, but if we reach into our heart a little bit, we can find the words to say
yeah,
how we actually feel. And we don't have to protect the person who is unwell, um, because they want to hear what you've got to say.
yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, look, and like I said before, it exposes the beauty of humanity around sharing that discussion to someone about your diagnosis and whatever.
yeah,
Everyone's got a different approach. I've had people like sending me videos of them bawling their eyes out. That was their expression. Um, I've had people that, friends that I love dearly, just say, every time I see you, I'm going to hug you. And
good.
they do that. And that's their, that's their way of communicating their love
Yeah.
and compassion towards
Mm.
someone in a situation like that. Everyone's got a different response.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We can't dictate how anyone else is going to
No, no,
respond, except
yeah,
um, use love. That's really it. Are you
yeah.
still surfing now or not? You can't surf.
No, I can't surf anymore. I haven't been able to surf. Obviously, surfing's super critical on your leg strength and balance.
Yeah.
Um, so I haven't surfed. Actually, I didn't surf for a fair while. I think it was around October last year. I had a very, very good friend of mine say, "Do you reckon you can still get up on a board?" And I hadn't for almost it must have been a long time, maybe a year. And simply because I've spent a lot of time on the water, I'm good at what I do. I was a good surfer, and I didn't want to. Like surfing's given me so much. It's such a beautiful experience with creation and the ocean. It is so beautiful. It's given me so many great experiences, and I didn't want to sort of go out there and start fumbling around. So as soon as my ability was lost and my strength to be able to surf the way I used to, I kind of like I didn't really want to get out there anymore. And I instead I've always and throughout this whole process, if I can't do something, I'll find an alternative. So I've been bodyboarding for a long time
I
now.
was
So
about to say you're bodyboarding.
I
Okay,
get
good.
out there and feel the ocean and love it as much as I can.
Okay.
Although it's sort of after the paddling and all that with your legs, with the flippers, it takes a toll on my legs. It's pretty sort of hard now, even doing that after all that exercise if you stay there for a while. But um, yeah, it's been going back to a really good mate said, "Do you reckon you can still get up on a surfboard?" And I hadn't surfed for probably close to a year, and we got a really big board. We got out there in the water, um, and I ended up. It probably took me about 5 or 6 goes to actually get up. I struggled to get up, but eventually I got up, and I got up a couple of times, and it was. I think it was a really powerful statement of what you can do when you still put your mind to it. And yeah, it was very liberating, and I'm thankful for him for that experience.
Were the two of you on the board together?
No,
No. Oh, you did it by yourself?
yeah,
Holy moly.
yeah, and it was hard. It's difficult. I got up, and I had to try and work out the way because normally with surfing, you just get your hands on the board and you just pop up
Mm,
to your feet, and it had to be a slow, sort of awkward way. But
slow pop. Mm.
it was an amazing experience to be able to do that again. Got me emotional, even after that wave that I caught. It's very emotional.
I'm really happy for you that you had that. And I'm happy that you're still bodyboarding, because there's nothing like the feel of the water.
Oh yeah, the feel of probably one of the most beautiful feelings of being a surfer, and it is definitely duck diving under a wave and feeling that energy go over the top of you, and you come out of it unscathed and feel that energy go over the top. But if you were like 1 meter back, that wave would hit you and put you into chaos. But it's just such a beautiful, freeing experience, and it's an art form. It's an expression of who you are as a person out in the water, and I guess that's what my surfing has always been. Is just been just using my skills and my confidence out there, and I consider it an art form, and I cherish all the years that I had having such a beautiful experience in the ocean like that in creation. So beautiful.
What? So, Aaron, you've probably talked about this quite a bit as we've talked, but if we can encapsulate any advice that you have for people who are newly diagnosed or whom are traveling in a really rough way at the moment with the MND diagnosis, and their families too.
Yeah. For some reason, the message has always been hope with me, and I've held on to hope strongly, and I'm not going to let go of hope. And for anyone battling any situation, including an MND diagnosis, I'd say to hold on to that hope. And if you're faced with the decision of turning toward God or turning away from God, I can tell you from experience, the best thing you can do is turn towards God, open yourself up, make yourself available to the creator of the heavens and the earth. And hope, there's always going to be hope in a number of different areas. And I think the most important thing is holding on to that. It's not only a spiritual hope, but it can also be a physical hope in the terms of, we know for chemical imbalances in the body with an MND diagnosis and dysfunction within the cells within your brain, positive hormones are going to do you so much better than negative hormones. So even having hope in any sort of hope is going to give you a benefit, even in terms of your physiology within your brain and the physical aspects. I remember speaking to a nurse in an MND clinic, and I said, one of the general, who lasts longer in this? Who lasts longer in this game? And she said, definitively, we know that people that have a positive outcome and have a good support base around them, they always last longer. And
I've mentioned this a few times, but Brad Turner, who's at the Florey, Professor Brad Turner, he's a scientist, and he said to me, I am a scientist, but Jane, people with the positive outcome, people who have faith of some kind, exponentially live longer than those who do not.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. And we can't explain that really. I guess you could say, well, negative hormones have a negative impact. So if you've got negative hormones going on in your brain, going around, it can lead to depression and whatever. And that it just has a flow-on effect of dysfunction, stress within the body. Yeah, your organs aren't going to be working as well as they can be. Your body's not going to be balanced. I mean, physiologically, it makes sense. But, and I know it's tough. It's so tough, but you gotta, and there's moments like I can say I'm full of hope and I'm full of love, and I don't have any anger. I can honestly say that, but it's not to say that there aren't times when I battle. There are times when I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm full of grief and in tears, and I'm in tears for an hour before I go back to sleep. There's those moments and there's those times, but you got to pick yourself up, regain your composure, have hope, and be thankful and have gratitude for every day that you've been given. No one's promised 80 years, 90 years on this earth. I thought I'm fitter, I'm healthier than the average person. I always thought in my head, I'm going to live to 80 or 90 for sure. And then I'm faced with this in my early 40s. It doesn't make sense. And you can go and you can pray all you want, or you can wonder all you want inside yourself and say, why? I did it at the start. You're not necessarily going to get an answer.
No.
You've got to be content if you don't get an answer, content in making a decision of what you're going to do based on who you are as a person and the strength that you can find within yourself to not give up fighting.
That is an answer.
You
have
beautiful calmness around you too, which I'm feeling and I'm very grateful for. I'm also really grateful that you reached out to me.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for your time this morning.
Thank you very much.
And I look forward to doing part 2 of this interview in 2 years' time.
Yeah, absolutely. I look forward to it.
Okay. Thank you, Aaron, so much.
And if anyone wants to
Ah,
touch base, we've got
Yep.
an Instagram page, ALS and Us. It's between me and my wife.
I shall put that on the link
Yeah,
so anyone can get in touch. And I'm going to be hooking up with that this afternoon too.
sounds great.
Thank you, Aaron, so much.
Lovely talking. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Pleasure.
Yeah, thank you. See ya.
If you'd like to get in touch, you can message me on the Let's Talk MND Facebook or Instagram pages, or Let's Talk MND5@gmail.com. The information on this podcast is not medical advice. And the music you hear is by a much-loved member of our family, John Hanley. Once again, thanks to Evercare for sponsoring this podcast and supporting Let's Talk MND. Their commitment to care and community helps make meaningful conversations like today's possible.